Hello everyone, welcome to Newcastle Fans TV. I'm Will Dickson and this is Transfer Weekly, a weekly roundup of all the transfers to do with Newcastle. First one, Jorginho Wijnaldum to Roma. I believe this one is quite likely to happen. Jorginho Wijnaldum, one of our better players at the club, seems to be wanting to move away. He's not said that he wants to stay. He hasn't said that he wants to leave. However, it does look as though that he would probably favour a move away. I don't really blame him, to be honest. Linked also to Southampton and also to Everton. Apparently, Newcastle put on a £30 million price tag on Wijnaldum. He only signed a contract last year. He's got a very, very long time to go on that. So obviously, it's going to be a big price. And Roma have a lot of financial resources, so I don't expect that to be a problem. Roma need to replace the midfield as Pjanic has gone to Juventus. So again, I see this likely to happen, but maybe he would prefer a move to stay in the Premier League with Southampton or Everton or whoever really. So again, I see this one likely to happen. I think he's gone. To be honest, I would accept anything over £20 million for him. He was so hit and miss, really. He started so well. Away from home, he was awful. Maybe, it could be for the best, and we can use that to invest in players who are willing to be at this club, who want to fight for this club, who have fantastic spirit, all that good stuff you need in the second tier of English football. A player who definitely doesn't have those characteristics, however, are Florian Thauvin, and he's linked to go back to Marseille on loan. However, for the full season this time, with a move to make it permanent at the end of it. Quite similar to the Rami Cabella deal. Marseille in a bit of financial trouble, so it would only be a loan move. We wouldn't be able to move him on permanently as yet, unless another club decides, did want to buy him permanently. To be honest, I want to get him out. He just looks so weak and feeble, and he offers nothing when I saw him play. Apart from that first game against Northampton, but that was against League 2 opposition. We can't rely on this guy. And if Townsend is to stay, and Aarons, I believe, should be getting first team football in the Championship, I think it only makes sense to move on Florian Thauvin. So get him out of here as soon as you can, please. For God's sake, Rafa Benitez, don't try and persevere. I don't think this guy has any desire to be at this club anymore. I don't think he even wants to come in the first place. But anyway, moving on to players who want to come in. The first one I want to talk about is Alvaro Arbeloa from Real Madrid. The second guy to go from Madrid to the Championship with Newcastle after Rafa Benitez, obviously. However, I think this one's a bit 50-50. He's in his 30s now. Released from Madrid, it would be a free transfer. He would have quite high wages, which I think would be a big stumbling block. However, the appeal, of a massive club like Newcastle, a fantastic manager in Rafa Benitez, and possibly, as Lee said in another video, that he could be made the captain of the club. I think that could be a very good appeal for him. Also, if Yamat is to leave, then he would definitely be our first choice. So I see that this one could happen. Whether it will happen, I really couldn't say. But I think there's definitely potential here. I think it's probably about a 5 out of 10 for me right now. I'm very 50-50 and split on whether this one will happen. Another player that we've been linked to in various sources across the country is Ross McCormack, also a reported target for Aston Villa. I think this is only logical that we get this guy. This guy has scored plus 20 goals in the last 3 seasons in the Championship for Fulham and for Leeds. Two teams that really haven't been doing well in the Championship, struggled to get into the top half. He can play as a number 10, he can play as a striker, he's been captain of these teams as well, so he's got fantastic leadership qualities. He's 29, actually he might be 30 now, or he's going on to 30. That this is going to be one of his last chances to play, to potentially play in the Premier League. He said that he wants to. It hasn't worked out at Fulham. They only are just escaping relegation in the past 2 seasons. If he can score 20 plus goals in those teams, imagine what he would do. With saying better players at Newcastle. I think he sees as us as favourites to go up. and I think you want to be part of that. Apparently it's £11 million, which is quite expensive, especially for a 30-year-old championship player. However, I think this one is only logical, and having that experience, lifts pressure off our young strikers in Mitrovic and Perez. You get Cisse and Riviera as we expect to do, then it only makes sense to get this guy in. A striking force of McCormack, Adam Armstrong, Mitrovic and Perez, I think, would be dynamite in the championship, and I think we would do very well with that. However, another striker is linked with us, and that's Patrick Bamford. Various sources. This one's from the Huddersfield Examiner. I don't know why they wanted to talk about us, but anyway, Patrick Bamford on a loan deal from Chelsea. I see why this would happen. I see why the club would be interested in him. I see why Benitez would be interested in him. When he was at Middlesbrough, he did fantastically in the Championship. However, in the Premier League, he did not perform for either Palace nor Norwich. So apparently Norwich are potentially looking at this. Also Aston Villa. I think he's a good player. I think there's still potential there, but he's getting to that age now where he really needs to cement down his place for the rest of his career. He can't just keep going on loan, because Chelsea, I think, are just going to be a club that buys in strikers are not really going to give Bamford that much of a chance. So I think he needs to move permanently, not on a loan deal. But I can see why this one would happen. I think the club is going to go, if it was a choice between the two, I think the club would go for Ross McCormack. I think that's my personal opinion. Another 3 players linked to us, all from the same source this time. This is Get Reading. So it's Reading's local newspaper. I don't know why these guys are commenting on us. But we're linked with 3 English Championship players. Lewis Cook from Leeds, a young centre defensive midfielder. I think this one makes sense. Cheick Tiote is approaching 30, or might even be 30 now. He nearly left in January. I think he's one of the highest earners at the club. Maybe he'll be one that we push it, that we move on very, very soon. Lewis Cook, the new young defensive midfielder. I think he'd be keen to get out of Leeds. Leeds, really not moving under anywhere. I think they won't be keen to sell him, but I think with the right price, I think we could get this guy in. I like him personally. I think he's a very good young player. My cousin's a Leeds fan. He says this guy's top draw. So we can only hope. Lewis Dunk, proven Championship centre back. Again, this guy is was one of the best players in the Championship last season, and getting rid of Stephen Taylor, potentially getting rid of Colaccini. We can't just rely on Lascelles and Mbemba, especially when we've got all these midweek games. Lascelles is still very young. Dunk, I believe, is in his mid-20s, or he's in his relatively early 20s. But he's had the experience of the Championship. Getting him out of Brighton and bringing him up here, I think Brighton won't be willing to sell him. I think it might take a lot of money to get him, but I think this would be a worthwhile signing, and to be honest, I would be quite keen to see this one as well. If he's not a starter, then he'll be in and around the squad, and I think he has the makings of a good Premier League defender as well. So I think Lewis Dunk is a good one to go for. Finally, Will Hughes from Derby. Again, I like the player. I think he's good. He's a good midfielder. The only thing I would say is that, what would it mean for John Shelby to get this guy in? Playing consistently for Derby, we would basically have to promise him that he would be playing first-team football for Newcastle. And, with John Shelby in there, can we really guarantee that? Or would we have to move Shelby aside to get this guy in? Again, Derby really aren't going to want to let him go, but I think there is a massive appeal for Newcastle. I believe we could get this deal done, and I think that would be good to have in the Championship, to have a range of options, because we need a big squad, and we need a big squad of players that are willing to fight and willing to put the graft in. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this week's episode of Transfer Weekly. I've been your host, Will Dickson. You've been watching Newcastle Fans TV, and I will see you later.